What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Tornado Tag. This episode is going to be the history of the Junkyard Dog. ABJ and BP Burr on the call. BP Perk on the call. Let's play some music by the Converse Kid and let's get this match underway. What's going on, BP? We're back for another episode. Trying something a little new here in the beginning, you know? Trying to mix it up. Trying to mix it up a little bit. Took a couple weeks off. It's been crazy. Job situations for me has been all over the place and just kind of trying to mentally get my head around some stuff. But since the last time we spoke, I'm just gonna do a little housekeeping for the podcast stuff. So I've been dropping some figure reviews, some beer reviews, some vlog. So I made a vlog that was going to be like my last vlog for a while because wrestling was going to go away from me because I had a job that I had to work weekends. And then the weekend next weekend I got laid off. So yeah. So I'm gonna be at PPW this weekend. I'm not jinxing anything else anymore, but it is looking good. I think I may have landed a newer job, which is super, super exciting. Which I will be able to be off on weekends so we can go and do cool stuff. There's gonna be a lot of wrestling stuff happening in a city that we're gonna be going to on this Friday coming up. So we're going to be making a lot more trips to the old city of brotherly love.
If it still exists after this Friday.
If it still exists, yeah, after this Friday. But so there's tons of new content. So other things too. If you're a fan of the old Tornado Tag show, right? Why wouldn't you? We made a lot of great content with a lot of great people. That YouTube channel is now back. This won't be live on there right away, but it is something that we will be going live to on there maybe in the future. So there's about a couple months worth of content that we've already made that's going to add to that list. So every other day or every 2 a week, or I forget how I have it set up, you're going to see previous episodes that were recorded when the rebranding of Tornado Tag happened. That will drop on the old channel. So you can go back and check out all of our old stuff and the new stuff will be added. And then once everything's current, we'll be going live on that channel as well as this one to help bolster it. We're also live right now on the High Tension Wrestling Network because they're less than, I think, 500 hours to hit monetization. So if you guys are watching this, if you're bored on a night or you need to leave the TV on for the dog, I know people do that. They leave the TV on. Throw on a playlist on High Tension Wrestling Network or throw on a Camp Leapfrog and just let it play through. Give them some watch hours, help them out. Let's get them up to their monetization goals. That's what we try to do here. Also, we do have some special edition ABJ merch. So there's nothing yet when it comes to Tornado Tag, but we're going to work on that. But as of right now, we do have waffle beanies. They're available in 5 colors. They might last another month. I think I'll let them go one more month because maybe I want a couple of them and hopefully I get this job. I can get a couple colors. But this one will be leaving at the end of this month. This is the Dusty Rose. I just thought it was a funny name for the color. I Heart ABJ Valentine's Day hoodie. So that's going to be available for this month. And then next month is already available for St. Patty's Day, a special edition I Heart ABJ with a little Celtic font. You guys can get that limited edition stuff now. So if you want to start your ABJ collection or stuff that related to the podcast of merchandise you can only get for limited runs, go and support. It helps more than you guys know. Memberships are available for the channel. T-shirts and stuff are available all the time on TeePublic or Teespring. There is some Tornado Tag stuff on there if you rather get it from Teespring rather than TeePublic. It's completely up to you. It's you still wearing a T-shirt and putting us out there for us for that. So then we also have the cult of ABJ. Lily's plugging it right now. Come to hang out with us in the Discord. We're always there hanging out, doing fun things. We already have next week's episode already kind of planned out. We're going to be doing the WWA World Heavyweight Championship. That's coming up. And then we have best on-screen relationships. Me and BP are going to go through a draft. And maybe this one will be pre-recorded and we're going to drop it, I think, next week because you have some stuff going on next week.
I may have some basketball commentary duties. Depending on
which might have some wrestling
What's up?
Attached to it. Yeah. He might be commentating a basketball match with a current WWE superstar's kid in the game.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. What's up? If you have to sneak that in you got to sneak that in somehow.
I'm just gonna talk about my boyhood hero John Cena the whole time,
or just be like, this kid's hitting buckets, or he's the 24/7 champion out here in this court.
he's hitting for 24/7, 48/7, 7-Eleven,
7-Eleven, I-47.
We saw that title die, if you remember.
Yeah,
that Nikki Cross threw it away at that Raw in Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah, yes, she did. We were there for. I think there was still a lot of things you could have done with that title that could have been fun. Yeah, I think for when you're trying to do something with any wrestling, if you have a social media presence and you're trying to make content, a 24-hour title is a great way to make content.
Especially if you just go. Look, if you're going to be silly, and I have mixed opinions on goofy things in wrestling, but if you're going to be goofy, go all out.
Yeah,
go out. Don't half-ass it. Just go all out and be like DDT with having like a bowl of rice win your title and a Hollywood Walk of Fame sign.
Yeah,
and the title itself is the 1000th champion.
Yeah. One more little bit of announcement for local fans, or we can do some international stuff that won't be on a merchandise. Lilly has been making friendship bracelets. So we do have ABJ podcast, hard to see in the camera, friendship bracelets. And then we also have I Heart ABJ bracelets right there. We'll be making ones that will say heel on it too. We're going to make some heel bracelets. I did drop some merchandise on TeePublic that it says heel, babyface, and Mark. So if you guys want to wear proud shirts, you guys can get those. They are available as well. I thought that was kind of fun to make t-shirts for. But if we'll be at PPW, we'll have a couple of these on us. I think we're doing $5 a bracelet. So if you want to support the show and wear a friendship bracelet and be my friend, it's hard to find friends these days, especially when you have local promotions just burying you at every chance they get. You know what I mean? Just tearing you down. It's hard to find friends these days. But you can brand yourself as my friend by one of these fancy bracelets. That's all I got when it comes to can shaking for the podcast.
And it's funny you talk about the old episodes coming up, because if you go to PPW this weekend, you can see two people who used to be on the podcast.
Yeah,
we have one another. Yeah,
we have a podcast matchup: Precious versus Andy Header. Precious was on this podcast before he was even thinking about being a professional wrestler or knowing it's a thing. So to see him come from a lifelong fan to a podcaster, then to a professional wrestler himself, and now take on the crafty veteran of the old school podcast, Andy Header. That's going to be fun. I think when I vlog this weekend, I'm definitely going to try to get both their takes on what they think this matchup's going to be post and pre-match. I think I'm going to try to vlog very heavy this weekend at PPW and get some fun stuff. If there's some stuff in the chat that you guys want to see in the vlog, tell me, and I will start curating the vlog of what you guys like. It's gonna be a little bit of a longer vlog because it's a bit of a roller coaster of emotions. So the beginning of the vlog is like, lost my job again, don't know what I'm gonna do, to like, we're back, baby, we're at a show, to we're at a parade in Philly. I'm gonna try to vlog that as well. It's gonna be all over the place.
It'll be you and about 1.5. Look, it's going to be a lot of fun. You're taking about 1.5 million Philadelphia Eagles fans and concentrating them in one spot. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go?
I'm someone who always reps my team. I'm someone who always reps what I'm proud of. It is not about me or my team this weekend. That is 100% for the it is 100% for the Philadelphia Eagles this weekend. I am not going to be a problem. I'm not going to be a nuisance. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going because my best friend is a diehard Eagles fan, and I want to make sure he can enjoy this parade. Because I'm going to be honest, and maybe the last one he ever gets, because next year Washington's coming hard.
Hey, it's been what, 20 years since somebody's won that division 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
it's going to be tough sledding, but who cares right now? Right now?
So congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles and to BP. I said if you guys beat us, you're going to win it all. So I was in your corner.
It's a bit of a risk, a bit of a gamble, putting your entire mental health in the hands of a football team. But when it pays off, it pays off.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Washington's already looking at the offseason, and boy, are there some players who want to play for that team that I'm licking my chops if we get Myles Garrett. DJ Metcalf wants to play there. Like,
team on the rise. Team on the rise.
Yeah. It's gonna be a good. We might have to start that NFL style podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was it? We Hate Dallas. Was the name of the podcast? Was that to be the name of the podcast? It's gonna be called We Hate Dallas.
But at this point, they're so insignificant that who cares about them?
It's I don't even want to put them in the title.
Yeah, don't waste your breath on them. Yeah. Wait, once they can get to a title game this century, look, you can make these jokes now. Once they get to a title game this century, then you can.
When you win a playoff game, when you dirtballs win a playoff game, you're a big quarterback. Our guy did it 1 year, 2 games on the road. Eat it. It's fun to be that fan. I'm gonna embrace my Pennsylvania.
There you go. Let the hate flow through you.
Yeah. So what are we expecting at PPW this week?
We are expecting a lot of fun. We are expecting some great action. I am so hyped for Too Smooth Sean Smith against Diego Hill for the PPW TV title. Holy moly, is that going to be? As soon as I saw Diego Hill wrestle, I'm like, there's one guy I want to see him wrestle. And he wasn't called Too Smooth Sean Smith yet. He was called
he was not.
He was still Rocket. But I'm like, these two have to wrestle. And they're wrestling under our roof. And I can't wait for it.
I miss Rocket too. So I'm sorry, Sean Smith. I miss that guy. I'm very excited to see him for the first time in a while. So super excited for that. I'm as you're filibustering here, BP. I'm pulling up some match graphics.
Yeah, another big one. The main event is going to be, and this is really cool too, and especially given how we are trying to apparently erase these things from the world. I'm glad that we're able to do this. Rembrandt and GKM for the PPW heavyweight title. And as Rembrandt pointed out, he was the first to point out, the first time in the history of PPW in Black History Month, the first time in PPW history that 2 black men have wrestled for the heavyweight title in a main event.
You guys did that by design, right?
Absolutely not. We did it by, here's our champ, here's the guy we want to wrestle our champ.
This was 100% a non-DEI call. This came down to merit. This was the 2 best guys to put in a match. Yeah. So everyone wins, right?
Rembrandt's the champ. Rembrandt's the man. GKM has been racking up wins. He's winning titles all over the place. He has won over PPW Nation, and I can't wait for that one. I cannot wait for that one.
So agree. I have one more graphic I'm trying to find here, and I cannot find it. I'm pulling
Journey Burke Esquire, the ESQ is coming back. She's taking on Sammy Chaos.
That's a thing. I love you, Journey. I love you, Journey. But Sammy is not in a good mind state. She's scarier, even more so than she normally is, and I'm worried for everybody in attendance that day, not just the person who unfortunately drew the card to be in the ring with her. You know what I mean?
It's a danger. Like
it's a bad time to draw the Sammy Chaos match. You know,
when she's in a good mood, she's dangerous enough, and now she's pissed.
Yeah, terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I cannot find this match graphic.
We have the trio. What are you looking for? We have the trio. Oh, we have a big.
I got some high tension matches that I can.
Okay, awesome. Yeah,
I can announce. Yeah, because they have a show coming up. I want to talk about now to kind of get people ready for it. Once for the next PPW show, I will be more up to date with my graphics and save everything. So we'll present them accordingly. But we do have some really cool matchups I want to talk about if you're going to come to the Philadelphia area or if you're in that area. So I want to post them up too. Any other match for PPW before we move on?
I do want to mention something you just released, your interview with Travis Norbert.
Yes, very good. Thank you so much.
Travis Norbert will be with me and with Johnny St. Clair and EJ Kuiper on PPW Spark before the show starts, and then he's a little salty. Travis is unhappy. He's an unhappy camper right now because he thought he had the Manager of the Year locked down in the awards we did at the last show. He did win the Most Hated Personality of the Year.
How dare them?
He was none too happy about. And then he did he finished second, but he did lose out in Manager of the Year voting to Benny the Basketball, the manager of Jermaine Marbury.
Disgusting.
And now Jermaine Marbury is Benny with Benny in his corner is going to be taking on the crown jewel of the commission, Sugar Dan Stavko, with Norbert in his corner for the PPW No Limits Championship, and I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, well, I know we're doing the history of Junkyard Dog, but we every episode, if this is your first time here, we also do a recap of what's happening in our local scene. So if you're not from our area, you're like, what the hell are they talking about? Go check it out. Check out PPW Wrestling on social media, and
PPW Entertainment.
PPW Entertainment on all social media. And as I'm once again clearly filibustering here, I did find more match graphics that I could put up for PPW as well. So I got the whole PPW card also.
Right, we went over a lot of it
as they pop in, but the graphics look cool. We'll put them up. We'll put them over. Even though those dirt balls over at PPW never share my content, and I put them over every week. Whoever runs that social media is a scumbag.
He is.
Here's a matchup that I'm pretty pumped for. A women's matchup at PPW.
Yes.
Yeah. Nahir Robles versus Nat Castle. Nat Castle's. Well, maybe if you're a member of the podcast, you can see episodes before they drop, before everybody else. Nat Castle has yet to be interviewed as a member of Los Toxicos. So maybe future two possible future people, I'm going to be honest, that I'm eyeing up for interviews for the podcast. Who are you picking here? Who are you liking?
Nahir's got a lot of steam. Nahir guy has the upset over Sammy Chaos.
Yep.
Now, do you have a letdown after that? Does Natty wind up pulling off the
or does Sammy come out and just say I'm gonna just take this over? That's terrifying.
Sammy could kill it. That's possible in any match. Sammy Chaos could just literally wipe out the building at any time.
Yeah. We did talk about this one already. Diego Hill versus Too Smooth Sean Smith. That match is gonna be all over the place. Probably I don't think we've used the rafters yet at PPW, but this is a match that we might have to raise the roof
if anyone can all over the place.
Yeah. Sean Smith's not opposed to jumping off ceilings. Speaking of Los Toxicos and Travis Norbert, they're going to be in a three-way matchup with guy who's not having a good weekend. Unfortunately, Dio Bando, huge Drake fan, did not enjoy the Super Bowl. Yeah. Mark Alexander, Nolan Pierce. I don't know who that guy is back there with the stupid hair. I don't even want to talk about him. I think he's absolutely terrible. Something. All I remember is he butt chugs. That's all I know about the kid. I think it's a kid. The thing that he does, he drinks, he takes a funnel. I don't know. Something.
When I saw him wearing those red and yellow tights, I'm like, yeah, you're done. You're done with me. I'm done with you.
He's awful. He's the worst. I don't even. Why does people book him? He's terrible. Then here's that match we talked about. Tornado tag. Our graphics should be up there. Tornado tag matchup. Andy Header versus Precious. I cannot wait for this one. This one is super, super exciting. I did not think I'd ever see this match, but I'm gonna be honest with you. But it's gonna be fun to watch. We did talk about
this one. Yes.
Yeah. Christian Robinson versus Malik Delvante. This one is, I think we've seen shades of Malik last Mania, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't he part of the suplex thing? Am I wrong about that?
I believe he was. He has been. I think he may have been involved. I know he's been doing some stuff in AXW. He's been doing some stuff in, I believe, Battlefield. He may be their champion, if I'm not mistaken. Malik is really making a name for himself, and he's a heck of a talent, and that is going to be another match.
Malik was at Phantom 6.
Phantom 6, okay.
Yeah.
Now Malik is a hell of a talent, and I can't wait for that match too. That's going to be another one that's going to be.
Yeah. Then we have tag team match, the Verchano brothers versus I can't even say that. What the hell is that?
Los Hios de Viento. Or it should be Los Hios del Viento. The Sons of the Wind.
Oh, okay.
El Magnifico and
I'm gonna say
Yuri
this.
Nagi.
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna break kayfabe a little bit. Maybe my heel's gonna come out. Most wrestlers on their masks are like really handsome. I'm happy both these guys wear masks. Jesus Christmas. Terrible.
So you're saying they're no Lindsay Dorado?
They're no Lindsays. They're no Ediths. They're no Max Zeros. They will never get the handsome moniker if they ever take those masks off. But they are some cool masks. So
shots fired.
Yeah. I'm just seeing who I can ruffle feathers with. This matchup, there's probably nobody on this matchup that I can probably say anything negative about. I think wait, who's that small child? Oh, anyway,
Austin Kingsley the Fifth. He's not a nice guy, but
Austin Kingsley the Fifth, Havoc, Al De Niro, who was a guest on the podcast. Xander. I don't know who Xander is. Vincio and Big Dan Champion.
Vincenzo.
Big Stan. He called me AB. What he called me? AB. Call me something. AJ. He called me AJ. He said, "Oh, AJ's a good guy." He said to somebody. This I thought was funny, so I'm gonna say his name wrong too. I like that bit when you say names wrong. I don't know. But that Xander kid, I don't know. He's terrible. But speaking of other matches coming up, if you want to come hang out in Philly with us, BP, some of these are pretty exciting. We're back. We're on the ropes Saturday, March 22nd in Philadelphia. Wrestling starts at 11:30, but we have one of those no ring shows again with some. I believe it's no ring. I'm not sure. I might have to double check on that. I think
if it's no ring, why is it called On the Ropes?
I don't know. It might be a ring show, but it's going to be a mixture of music and wrestling. But we have Riley Crow taking on Mother Endless, which is a really fun matchup. Riley Crow is on the rise. If her match is on the internet, it's getting tons of views. Another amazing women's match. 2 former guests of the podcast, one coming up, one former. Shay McCoy taking on Canadian's own Katrina Creed coming across the border. I don't know why she would do that. It's horrible down here. She just stay up where it's amazing. And then this is a BP. You want to talk about tag team matchup right here, right? So Kingsglaive had to change a member. I don't know the whole story. I'm still investigating on why, but unfortunately, Travis Huckabee will not be there to team up with his partner Max Zero in Kingsglaive. And if you're gonna book someone to team up and keep that energy of Kingsglaive alive, you got to bring out someone who is scary, someone who can kill, someone who fits that Travis Huckabee level. And then there's another side of the coin, right? You're going to get tag team action against these killers. Who's brave enough to go against this team? And you think of Big and you think of Brave and you think 2 people that I didn't think I needed as a tag team BP until this graphic dropped. We are getting fucking Big Calix back in high tension wrestling, and he's teaming up with the greatest voice in professional wrestling, Billy Avery, Big and Brave. Unfortunately, that psychopath, scary bastard of Max Zero got goddamn Weapon X on his team.
Oh, jeez. Well, then.
Yeah.
Well,
this matchup is going to be bonkers. I cannot wait to be on the call for this one. I tell you what, I made a mistake once getting in the ring with Max Zero. I'm definitely not doing it again, especially with Weapon X and their Matt Mikowski.
You're not getting there with Matt Mikowski?
No shot. No shot. My chest is still caved in. I look like Kofi Kingston over here. Can't take my shirt off. Yeah.
You don't want to take your chances against Weapon X.
No, not a shot.
What if it's Frog Sport rules?
Definitely not. Definitely. We helped film that. I'm going nowhere near Matt Mikowski. I'm not even talking to him. I'm not really in good grace at a high tension because I'm part of a team. The whole thing. I'm just going to stay away from a lot of them because I don't want to die.
There has been that aggressive corporate restructure.
Yeah. Very, very aggressive. And I'm just trying to do the best by the company, but it's Weapon X had some Max. Big Calix is back though. That's exciting.
That's big.
Yeah.
But that's big.
That is big. Big news. And him and Bill. Oh, all right. Bill, we're gonna go back in time. Billy Avery, Big Calix in the tag team. You're like, what? And you're like, that's fucking awesome. Yeah, so a lot of good stuff happening. And I believe, I don't have graphics for it, but I believe this high tension show is on a Saturday. And on Friday, it's a double shot weekend. It's going to be Labor of Love Friday and high tension on a Saturday.
What date is the Labor of Love show?
I believe it's Friday would be the 21st, right?
Yeah, that's the week before. Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Is that the City Cup one?
It might be.
I know they're running a show, and the reason I bring it up is they're running in a really cool building. It's a building I watched a few wrestling shows at like almost 25 years ago, right after ECW closed.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm thinking of the same show, and it's a really cool building, and they have some cool people there too. If we're thinking about the same show, I know.
Actually, it's not a Friday. It is a Sunday. It's a Sunday, the 23rd at that venue. Yes. It'll be a double shot weekend. Wrestle Cup number 3. Diego Hill's on that card.
This is the show. Yeah, that is a super cool building, and it's in a really cool part of town, and that's going to be a really good show. Yeah, Diego Hill's in there, I believe. I want to say Christian Robinson's in there too.
Christian Robinson is on the card. So is Diego Hill, Ryan Mooney, Weber Hatfield, Shea McCoy. A lot of people. Matt Makowski versus Cheeseburger for the championship.
Very cool.
So a lot of good stuff. So that'll be a double shot weekend. That might be a weekend. Hopefully I get a job by then and I can Airbnb and spend the Saturday and the Sunday instead of making that Philly trip twice.
Yeah, that especially with that one should be at 11:30. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, that might be an Airbnb night. So we might do that. But lots of cool stuff. Very excited. The High Tension brand is exploding now with Labor of Love joining forces, doing the double shot weekend that weekend. 2 amazing nights of wrestling. Come on out to Philadelphia and hang out. Or you can come hang out this weekend also in Slightington, Pennsylvania with us at PPW. Independent wrestling's killing it right now, man. So many fun people to watch.
Lots of fun stuff coming up, and again, the cool thing about that building, if they run there in the summer, air conditioned.
Yeah,
at least it was 25 years ago. It's been a while.
Yeah, it might have broke. It might not have gotten fixed. That is a thing in pro wrestling venues.
I saw the likes of Tommy Dreamer wrestle there. I saw the late great Chris Candido wrestle in that building. I saw the late great Balls Mahoney wrestle in that building.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Axel, we were in a Discord before here, and we're having like a heart-to-heart conversation about pro wrestling, and all we hear is sleeping, out cold, snoring in our ears. Booted him out. All right, let's get into our topic today. Once again, thank you everyone who's joining in, chatting along. Keep the conversation flowing, but we're gonna switch gears a little bit. BP, I'm gonna hot tag you in on a tornado tag rules, which doesn't even exist, and take over here for the history of the Junkyard Dog.
So this is a great one, another great one for Black History Month. This is one of the first people who was a crossover star and was really able to be pushed as the man, the number one baby face. You had your Bobo Brazils, you had Bearcat Wright, who was more of a heel. You had Sailor R. Thomas, but the Junkyard Dog was a cultural phenomenon where he was, to the point where his effects are still felt to this day in a city that's now very near and dear to my heart, New Orleans. I have a soft spot for New Orleans now.
Didn't imagine why.
Well, Daniel Bryan won the title there back at WrestleMania 30, and then somebody else may have won a title there this weekend. But anyway, the Junkyard Dog is not from New Orleans. He is actually from North Carolina. And he was one of the many guys who crossed over from football to professional wrestling. Sylvester Ritter is his real name. Played at Fayetteville. They always said he went to Old Dominion, but he played at Fayetteville State University. He was, and this is a team that wound up having a lot of guys. The Green Bay Packers. Lex Luger was with the Packers for a second. Junkyard Dog was with them a little bit, but injured his knee. And like a lot of guys who have to leave football because of injuries or it just didn't work out for them, Vader was like this. Luger, he turns to professional wrestling. And he's doing okay. He's moving around. He's wrestling in Memphis and around the Deep South and places like that. He actually gets his first real prominence in Stampede in Canada for that Stu Hart there, the big guy. And Stu would love to bring in like these imported heels to take on his sons. It was very much like World Class, but with Canadians. And the Hart Boys would take on. They had a few guys from Japan who they wind up very politically correctly calling the Viet Cong Express. I think it was like Hiroshi Hase and another guy. And so he was Big Daddy Ritter, and he was their North American champion twice. And it's really funny because you think the Harts, you think Bret Hart, Owen Hart, these incredible wrestlers, this standard of excellence, the people who came through that dungeon.
Yeah.
Look, Teddy, look, you can criticize Teddy Hart for a lot of things.
He was good in the ring.
His wrestling is fairly low on the list.
That's probably the only redeeming feature.
It's fairly low on the list. But
and listen, not the greatest of humans, but he did love cats, you know?
Yeah, well, again, not the greatest of humans. So
just set him up to knock him down.
So where where the Junkyard Dog is born and where the Sylvester Ritter's story really changes is after he has this run in Calgary, he finds his way to Mid-South Wrestling, which is Louisiana, parts of East Texas, Arkansas, that whole area. And the lead guy there is Cowboy Bill Watts, who is a legendary wrestler himself, a great promoter, somebody who is a very controversial guy. He'll be an interesting guy to cover just because he's one of those fascinating cases of a very complicated man, maybe not a great man, but a great mind. And he brings in the Junkyard Dog. He brings in Sylvester Ritter and christens him the Junkyard Dog. And this is something where I know we've seen this discussion in like some private chats and things like that of, oh, well, look at this list of names. These names are bad. Like, and we like NXT just trademarked a bunch of names. I know we didn't talk about the cuts. Unfortunately, a lot of people were cut.
Oh, yeah,
from WWE this week. It's never fun to see anybody lose a gig.
Any head scratchers real quick before we?
No. The surprising one for me was Sonya Deville, just because she had been there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
The one I was kind of bummed out about her. I was kind of bummed out about Isla Dawn, who I thought had some potential. Yeah. But I mean, a lot of those people, unfortunately, weren't really being utilized, and it's understandable. Again, you never want to see anybody lose their gig, and I'm not saying that to dance on their contracts or look. It's never fun when anybody loses their livelihood. It's not anything to joke about. It's not anything to celebrate. But I mean, I do understand it, especially if they're planning on bringing people up from NXT, which apparently they are. And you have
maybe bring in some free agents that are on the market right now.
Yeah, there's heavy rumors about Aleister Black coming back, about Rusev coming back, about Ricky Starks possibly coming in.
Yep.
And you got to free up room, and it's it stinks, but it's the nature of the beast.
It's to a point too, and it's a bad thing. Obviously, people lost their job, but also like the women's division's so stacked between NXT and WWE that like losing like 3 women on the roster is like, oh, it's back in the day. You're like, you only have 6, you're gonna cut 3, but now it's at a point where it's like, you could probably cut 4 or 5 to be honest, because you have a lot of firepower right now,
and it's very
still cutting good people.
Yeah, you are, and it's very, very clear that at least it seems Roxanne Perez is on her way up. And now you have the rest of this feeder system is really firing up. You have this LFG show coming up. You have Evolve coming up on Tubi, which is going to be, it seems, a lot of those WWE ID guys. The commercial.
I will be covering that on a weekly basis. I've already kind of said to myself that I don't know if I'll watch it live or I'll say, hey, we're gonna watch it 8 o'clock when it drops on Tubi, but I'm going to. I mean, listen, half those people on that we've worked with. So
yeah, Mathers, Baylor,
I'm be honest, they're people that I've enjoyed watching on independent scene, and now I can see them on TV, and that's the way I can. I'm going to support it. So
yeah,
I will be an NXT Evolve fan.
And it's really cool that they brought back that legacy of Evolve, which was kind of once Gabe Sapolsky was separated from Ring of Honor and the Dragon Gate thing kind of fell through.
What a mind.
Yeah,
we should do a Gabe Sapolsky episode for that before Evolve drops.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one.
By the way, here's the graphic there.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Already ready to rock.
See, you can't wear that on Friday. They'll think you're a Steelers fan.
Oh, with Evolve?
No, the gear you're wearing there.
Oh yeah, I can't wear my jacket. Here.
Yeah, they're gonna think you're a Steelers fan if you do that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that there's worse things you could do.
I like the Commanders.
but yeah. So back to the Junkyard Dog. I mean, yeah, but I think people just kind of laugh at you at that point. But
for now,
as long as you're not wearing a star, I think you're okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. For now, yeah. Who knows what's happening next year? Anything can happen. And
yeah.
Well, maybe not anything. The Giants are probably still going to be last, but whatever.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
I'll say this real quick. Back to football, real fast. I may have a little more of a hatred than I did before for the Giants, because like, how the fuck do you put Saquon Barkley in your own division? Like,
well, it's not like they trade. It's not like they traded him. They let him walk. If they traded him, then you're like, because that's the whole thing. You only trade a guy within your division if you feel like they have nothing left. Like, it's pretty clear, and they were correct. Like, when the Eagles traded McNabb to Washington, they're like, okay, we think the tank's pretty empty on this guy. And it turned out to be the truth. But I mean, that can backfire on you very easily. I mean, one of the guys I thought was very good on Washington this year was Olamide Zaccheaus, the receiver. He was with the Eagles last year, but they didn't trade him to Washington. They just let him walk. I mean, the Commanders did trade Dotson to Philly.
Worked out for 1 touchdown this year.
Hey,
and a first down.
Like he came. I'm fine. Everything went okay. It's all okay. It's all good right now. Like,
he got a ring. Good. He got a ring. He's from PA himself, and he walked out with a ring from his city. That's cool.
Yeah. People are going to be so bad about all the football talk on this one. Speaking of football, the Junkyard Dog was a football player.
There's a guy. He's a football player.
I think he had a football helmet match, and we'll get to that in a little bit. I think he was involved in that. Oh, no,
we're at the point where we're going to start calling him the Junkyard Dog. And I remember as a kid, when I would hear his name, I immediately associated him with a song, and then years later learning that's exactly why they named him that.
Yeah, and that's where I was getting at. Thank you for getting me back on track here. Yeah. With these names, it's like they used to just take names from things. Where Nature Boy was the name of a song, and that's where Buddy Rogers got the nickname Nature Boy. I think Buddy Rogers was like an action serial like character. You just kind of stole things from stuff like, and the Road Warriors is from the movie Road Warrior. You just stole things, and so I'll
say this though, Sylvester Ritter, good name.
Yeah, it is
good name.
It is, but it's not the Junkyard Dog. But it's from that Jim Croce song, Bad Bad Leroy Brown.
Yeah,
tougher than old King Kong, meaner than a Junkyard Dog, and that was Junkyard Dog's. Or I'm gonna probably say JYD a lot. Junkyard Dog, JYD, same thing. That was his theme song. He would come out in Mid-South to Bad Bad Leroy Brown, and he pretty quickly became the biggest star in that area. And this is where the complicated history of Bill Watts comes into play, because Bill Watts is a very controversial figure. And it's more for what happened way later, because by 1992, when Mid-South Wrestling is long gone, and we can talk a little bit about why that happened. I think we may have covered that before, where they were getting raided. Like, we'll get into what Junkyard Dog leaves, Butch Reed leaves, Ted DiBiase leaves, a lot of his stars leave, and he winds up having to sell to Jim Crockett Promotions. And the other really tough thing that happened is, even though he was doing really well, he wants to try to go nationally, rebrands to the UWF. His bread and butter towns are still in Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and this is the area of the country where the oil industry is, big money. It's where a lot of the jobs are. It's where a lot of the people work. It's like historically, it's like the steel industry in Pittsburgh. It's like the lumber industry in Portland. This is where people make their money. And then what happens with Mid-South is the oil industry tanks. The oil industry is devastated in the late 1980s, and a lot of these people lose their jobs, and the economy in that area is hit really, really hard. And a lot of people that were coming to his matches couldn't afford to come to his matches anymore, and he sold. But Bill Watts finds himself in the leadership position in WCW because he's seen as this great wrestling mind, and he absolutely was. But he did an interview with Wade Keller of the Pro Wrestling Torch, and I don't remember the exact quote, but he said something like about how if I own a store, why should I have to let black people shop at my store if I don't want to, or why should I have to let gay people shop at my store if I don't want to? Looking at it from almost like a libertarian thing, like it's my right to say no. I'm the guy who owns the business. And one of the most powerful people in TBS and Turner Sports who won WCW at this time was Hank Aaron, the legendary Atlanta Brave, until Barry Bonds broke it, had the home run record, got wind of this, and he was the senior vice president of Turner Sports, and Bill Watts was gone. It was over. But Bill Watts was really, really, really adamant about having a strong black babyface champion at a time in the early 80s where not a lot of people were doing that. And
he wasn't really doing it because he was a man for the culture. He was doing it because he wanted to put money in his pocket.
He was a man for the box office.
The
only a lot of people that really have studied Bill Watts will say the only color he cared about was green.
Yeah.
And he knew that he was running shows in predominantly black cities like New Orleans, like Shreveport, Louisiana, like a few others, where this is nothing new. This was Vince McMahon Sr.'s entire booking philosophy in the Northeast in New York. One of the reasons Bruno Sammartino was on top for as long as he was is if you look at Philadelphia, New York City, Pittsburgh, where he was from, a lot of these areas had very strong Italian American communities who wanted to see a guy from Abruzzi, Italy.
Have you ever been to a show? Now, I don't. I don't want to be like the little white guy thing, like not making it about. If you don't know me and you think I'm saying this in a negative connotation, then that's on you. But I'm pretty much a man for the people. But I've never been to a show that has been a predominantly all black audience for professional wrestling. But Jesus Christ, could you imagine how fucking fun that would be? Like, I've been to a lot of shows with all white people and everyone's sitting on their goddamn hands. They're boring as hell. I went to 3 shows in New Jersey that was almost all Hispanic-based wrestling fans. And it was the craziest, most fun time I've ever had because like different cultures and people just respond to entertainment in different ways. And I couldn't imagine going to like a predominantly all black wrestling crowd and watching wrestling. It's probably the best thing you'll ever experience. Like, and JYD comes out and they lose their mind and they're dance. Oh my God, that was probably the most fun.
And this is the days of kayfabe where a lot of people think it's still real. And we are not that far removed from, in the 80s, we're only like 15, 20 years removed from segregation, from Jim Crow, from all this other stuff. And
unless you want to play football for the Washington team in Boston, or the team in Boston that then became the Washington Commanders or Alabama, then we're not really at segregation ending.
Yeah. Well, by the 80s we are. Look, by the 80s, Doug Williams is in town and things are getting better. But that's the late 80s. By that time, Junkyard Dog's in WWF. But
that's all I know him by is WWF, yeah.
But the Junkyard Dog is in Mid-South, and he very, in fairly short order, becomes their number one baby face, and they are packing the house. And he has some legendary feuds, and to the point where, and I know this is sorry to bring this back to football again, but they always talk about like the Cincinnati Bengals have that who dat thing, but that is also really, really, really synonymous with New Orleans, and it started with the Junkyard Dog. They would say, "Who dat think they can beat that dog?" That was the whole thing. It was
pro wrestling, baby.
That it really got. And I know they were doing the who dat thing when the Saints were making runs like 20 years ago. I remember it happening with when they played the Eagles in the Jeff Garcia year. But that all started in professional wrestling with the Junkyard Dog, and very, very legendarily, one of the most famous angles, probably the most famous angle he did down there, was an angle where the Freebirds would do this thing all the time. They would have hair versus hair matches, and they would have the patented Freebird hair cream. Like, they wouldn't shave somebody's head. They would have the Freebird hair cream that would remove hair from your head. And it would wind up getting dumped on somebody's head, and they would run to the back, and they would come back out later, and they'd be completely bald. But
it was Nair before Nair.
Right. I mean, it was really just a bucket of shaving cream, but then they would run to the back and really shave their head, and they would run back out. They actually did this in NXT very early on in the network era with a guy named I forget his name, but he was with the Sylvester Lafort and Louis Volley or something like that. And he almost did like a Phantom of the Opera thing where the bucket got dumped on his head and then he ran away, and they would just see him in the crowd with like a bald head, like just scowling at everybody. But what they wound up doing with this angle was, it's actually something that ECW kind of took for the Sandman many years later, but the hair cream accidentally wound up in Junkyard Dog's eyes. And they said the caustic chemicals in the hair cream made the Junkyard Dog blind, and he had to retire. And JYD sold this. He really made people think that he was completely blind. He would walk around with like dark sunglasses on and like bandages over his eyes. he had to pretend to be blind while his daughter was graduating high school. Like it was.
I watched a photo of him selling the blindness. Those bandages look terrible.
But people bought it.
Yeah.
People bought it. And then they did a thing. People bought it. And there was this whole angle where there's a match with him and Michael Hayes, where Michael Hayes had to wear a blindfold and the Junkyard Dog was just blind. And legendarily, Hayes is a heel, so he takes the blindfold off. And somebody in the crowd yells, "Don't worry, dog, I got him," and pulls a gun on Michael Hayes. And it's like, whoa. They've got a lot of heat for this.
Now, when this happened, according to the Dark Side of the Ring, JYD's on the outside of the ring, and the gun is literally like next to him. Like the guy, like he can literally grab his hand and stop this from happening.
Right, but he can't because he's selling blind. Yeah,
because he would sell blind, and kayfabe was so real back then that he's like, well,
especially in Mid-South. And I was wrong. It was his daughter's birth, not a graduation. Yeah. He had to like feign being blind for his daughter's birth. But yeah, so especially Mid-South, Bill Watts took kayfabe even more seriously than anybody. Like if you were, it didn't matter how much he liked you, how big of a star you were. If you were a wrestler and you were in Mid-South and you were in a bar and you got in the fight and you lost, you were done. You're fired. You're out of here. If you were a heel and you got caught fraternizing with a baby face, you're both gone. Like he took it to another level of seriousness. And because the crowd believed to the point where a lot of the heels, especially the heels who were going up against the dog, like Ted DiBiase or Michael Hayes, they would have to park like a mile or two away from the Superdome or wherever. The Superdome. But they would have to park a few miles away from the Superdome or wherever they were wrestling that night. Uh-oh. You have some communication coming in?
Yeah. I just got word from Head that at the 8 o'clock hour, which is less than 10 minutes away now, we have a giant announcement. Coming from High Tension Wrestling.
Big stuff. Right on.
Head just told me. At 8:01, we have an announcement to announce right here on this channel that's going to involve the city of Philadelphia and High Tension Wrestling.
Oh my.
All right.
Two of my favorite things, the city of Philadelphia and High Tension Wrestling.
I think you're going to like this one too.
I bet I will. So the Junkyard Dog is blind and he's but he makes some miraculous. Oh, we're talking about the cars. Yeah, they would have to literally hide in the boot of like a referee's car or something like that, like just literally hide in the trunk and be driven in that way, because if people saw them getting out of their car, that car was done.
Yeah,
that car was tires slashed, the doors would be taken off, the wheels would be taken off, the steering wheel taken off. They did not play around in New Orleans, and they loved him. It was the same level of popularity that like a Jerry Lawler had in Memphis, or Hulk Hogan had nationwide a little while later, but it was concentrated, especially within New Orleans, but with some other things. And they would always have some little wrinkles to the story. I know we talked very famously about the gorilla suit incident because it was a little bit of an inspiration for something I did in my booking last year, where there was a match between, it was supposed to be Jim Duggan and Ted DiBiase against the dog and I believe Mr. Olympia. And they said Duggan was in a wild bar brawl the night before and he got arrested. He's not here. But look, we have the gorilla mascot from the local high school. He's here to entertain the crowd. And Matt Bourne takes Duggan's place, and the gorilla interferes, and it's Jim Duggan. Yeah. And it was a loser leaves town match, and the dog had to leave town for a little bit. He had another loser leaves town match where DiBiase turned on him and cost him the match. And he came back as, they don't do this. I wish they would do this angle again. They haven't done it in a while. He came back under a mask as Stagger Lee. The last time we had it was Mr. American. That guy should have stayed gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's still around. Now
he makes shitty beer.
Yeah.
American beer. Yuck. I'll never drink it.
No, not at all. So, but Stagger Lee is like the Midnight Rider thing where everybody knows it's the Junkyard Dog. Everybody's in on the joke. Was like, well, if we find out it's him, there's going to be hell to pay. I don't know who the first guy to do this was. I know Dusty did it twice. Dusty did it with Uvelde Slim. He did it with the Midnight Rider. Jerry Briscoe, I think, also did it with Uvelde Slim.
I mean, a lot of people did it, but it wasn't on purpose, like the Moondogs. You know what I mean? Like, they try to play a different character, and they're like, "You're
but
not.
You're not Demolition." I mean, like, just intentionally. Hey, Curry Man, yeah. Where it's like it's that tongue in cheek. Everybody knows this is supposed to be him, but
I think Curry Man just was on the Jericho cruise.
Yeah,
yeah, he took a photo with one of his favorite wrestlers.
Charlie Brown from Out of Town did it. And one of my Chikara did it with one of my favorite Chikara characters, Archibald Peck. Archibald Peck was he's now he might be writing for AEW now. He was with WWE for a while. RD Evans. He was with Ring of Honor for a bit. He was Archibald Peck in Chikara, and he was a band leader. He was a psychotic band leader whose manager was like a majorette, and it was incredible. He was so good. And then he had to get tough, so he became Mixed Martial Archie, and he would do full interviews with his mouthpiece in and just mumble. It was hilarious. But he lost.
I just showed Lily a video of the Colony coming to the ring for a match to marching ants, and they stop the music and they stop marching. And then they start playing the music and they march again.
It's a shame nothing ever happened with those guys.
Yeah,
none of them ever had. None of them ever had big careers. Yeah.
I mean, all of them great. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Too bad.
So yeah. So then he finally loses like a lose town match, and he comes back as the mysterious and handsome stranger, and it's just a complete Midnight Rider thing. But it doesn't happen. I got to do a Midnight Rider thing in PPW.
Yeah,
that's on my list.
Who do we do that with?
That's on my list. I don't know. Let's think of something.
Yeah. Sammy. I want Sammy to be in all the comedy angles. Like, I want her to transition to the scary "I'll kill you," but also extremely funny, because she's
very good at it.
Her timing is so good with her comedy.
It's impeccable. It's impeccable.
I love when someone heckles her in the crowd, and she just like just a subtle look, like, kills me every time.
Her timing is and even with backstage her timing is on point.
Good. So what does she call? What does she call Scarlett Johansson or whatever?
Anything but. Usually Nancy, but sometimes it can be anything but Scarlett.
And she's so forgettable. She's an easy name to forget. Yeah.
Jessica, I think Jessica was the latest one, but it's usually Nancy. Because if somebody else interviews Sam, you're not Nancy.
You're not.
Where's Nancy? Anyway, back to the Junkyard Dog and Stagger Lee. Eventually, he's going to leave for real, though, because as he's really, really, really hitting that apex of popularity, he's one of the first guys that's on Vince McMahon's radar when it's time to raid the territories. And we're going to go to each of these areas, and we're going to take all their major names. We're going to take the Junkyard Dog. We're going to take Hulk Hogan from the AWA. We're going to take Bobby Heenan from the AWA. We're going to try to poach as many people as we can. And one of the big ones is the Junkyard Dog. And for a while, he is kind of like the number 2 babyface behind Hogan.
Yeah.
And to the point when Hogan gets that cartoon, that rock and wrestling cartoon in the mid 80s, Junkyard Dog's one of the main characters, especially when they phase out Wendy Richter, because they were phasing out Wendy Richter. The Junkyard Dog is like one of the main guys on that cartoon. And he, in WrestleMania 1, he has a really big spot against Greg Valentine for the Intercontinental title. A little bit later,
I've never seen an episode of that cartoon.
I don't think I have either. It's a little before my time. So I think it came out in like 85, 86, and in 85, I'm 2 years old.
I have to seek it out. I've never seen an episode of it.
I probably watched it and don't remember it. Like my memory of watching wrestling really crystallizes in like 1988. That's when I'm really. That's when I can look back and go, oh yeah, like that's when I went to my first show. That's when that's when I really have those like really hardened memories of like right after WrestleMania 4. That's where my wrestling memory really starts to kick in. With Junkyard Dog, that's when he's kind of winding down. By WrestleMania 2, I believe at WrestleMania 2, he is Yeah. So people were always in and out. Hogan was the constant, and they weren't going to turn Junkyard Dog heel to be against Hogan. And also his ring work was starting to suffer. That he was never the best in the ring, but he was one of the early people that Dave Meltzer kind of had a vendetta against. Meltzer hated him and the Ultimate Warrior. It was always the junk food dog and the anabolic warrior, just because he didn't have the work rate that people were kind of looking for. He was more of a character. He was more of a guy who was there for his charisma and his mannerisms and things like that. But it's fun if you look back, and he had a pretty prominent role for a little bit. He had the role in the wrestling. He won the Wrestling Classic, the first pay-per-view that the WWF ever did. Junkyard Dog beats Randy Savage by a countout in the finals to win. But that was more to set up a thing with Harley Race, I believe, because that was like a King of the Ring tournament. And then by WrestleMania 3, we get Junkyard Dog and Harley Race, King Harley Race in a loser must bow match. And then by the time that WrestleMania 4 rolls around, the Junkyard Dog's really starting to be phased out a little bit. In fact, I think one of his last, I think he may have wrestled Rick Rude at the first SummerSlam. I don't remember exactly. I should have had that in front of me. And I know one of the last things I remember him from, and then he did lose to Rick Rude at SummerSlam. He was in the Royal Rumble on the USA Network, but Dino Bravo eliminated him. He was at WrestleMania 2. He teamed with Tito Santana in a match against the Funks, Hoss Funk and Terry Funk. But the last thing I remember, they did an episode of Primetime Wrestling in late November, and I think they taped it a few months beforehand, because a lot of guys who were on this show, this was their last appearance, because by the time they aired it, they were pretty much gone. Don Morocco was on the show, and he was out shortly after this. Junkyard Dog was on this show. The British Bulldogs were on this show, and then you didn't really see a whole lot of them with within that. And then you wind up with him going to the NWA. And the NWA is just trying to look for star power here. That's when I think it was Steven Chambers was talking about earlier in the chat. He didn't get a lot of the Junkyard Dog didn't get a lot of face time or a lot of like primo spots and title matches. He definitely was getting him in WWF because they weren't putting him with Hogan. Hogan was a very clear form with Hogan. Heel monster or guy that turned on him. They feud for 3 months. Repeat. Time. Pause everything.
All right. Hot off the press. I was gonna wait for high tension to pop in the chat, so you can finish your thought, and as soon as they pop in,
okay,
I'll make my announcement.
Announcement imminent.
It's coming. I'm happy you're excited. Everyone should be excited, especially if you're in the Northeast area. There's gonna be some big news. Breaking news. So JYD is over in the NWA now, becoming WCW. He aligns himself with Sting, with the original Dudes with Attitudes group. He has a Clash of the Champions match with Ric Flair, where it's like, hey, Ric Flair didn't even get a good match out of him. This isn't great. Oh, there they are. Here they are. All right. So the big news, ladies and gentlemen, the High Tensioning Wrestling Network and High Tension Wrestling will be teaming up back in Philadelphia with Suplex Vintage Wrestling.
Ooh.
We'll be having some Suplex Slamboree April 12th, WrestleMania weekend, a free show for everybody. The week before WrestleMania, Saturday, April 12th, 1 p.m., South Street, Philadelphia, free for everybody, presented by Suplex Wrestling and High Tension Wrestling. And we already have on the flyer, Top Guy Time, Griffin McCoy. We got Weber Hatfield, the most unprofessional professional wrestler, Philly Mike Swanson, and Too Smooth Sean Smith on that flyer. It is going to be absolutely great. A free show for everybody. Last time we did this show, there was thousands of people there, famous rappers, AEW stars were in the crowd watching. It was a blast, and we're here to announce right now that it's coming back. We're going to be in the middle of the street on South Street, partying, wrestling, and having a great time. And the merger of Suplex Vintage Wrestling and High Tension Wrestling is happening, and I couldn't be more proud because I kind of helped put that together.
and this time, Jim's is open. It wasn't open last time. They were this close to opening for Mania Week, and they didn't make it. So I had to go to HTW.
I will be hopefully on the call unless I get fired, unless I get killed by Kingsclave at this next show. I'm staying away from everybody. But I'm pretty pumped. That's going to be fun. That was one of my most memorable moments in professional wrestling. Yep, sorry. And Vinny's Barbershop is a sponsor of that as well. Cannot forget him. Maybe I'll get him. He'll cut me up. You know what I mean? Not cut all the way off. I don't want to. I'm not doing a loser leaves hair match or whatever, anything like that. But
that's a great way to put that. Loser leaves hair match. I love that.
Just someone shaves my head or something.
Not leave your hair. Yeah, you leave your hair in the ring. It's a loser leaves
in the ring. But no, thank you for letting us break that news. We're excited. We were already kind of talking about earlier in the show. We were plugging the On the Ropes match. Is this a no ring show, or is this a wrestling ring music band deal? I forgot to ask you that when we were talking. Also, the next day we were plugging the Labor of Love show as well. That's going on. We're gonna try to make it an entire Philadelphia weekend that weekend and have some good parties. Loser leaves hair as a keeper.
It's a good one.
I'll just go and just drop out in the ring and head out. You know.
Yeah, in that venue.
What if you wrestle somebody in a loser loser loses their hair match and they show up to the ring bald?
Well, then they already kind of lost, didn't they? No ring matches during an all-night rave.
There it is. So it is no ring. Why is it called On the Ropes then? That was BP's question.
It's always the stickler for logic. Always the stickler for logic.
But no, I'll run through it again real quick while High Tension's here. Riley Crow versus Mother Endless. Super excited for that one. Shay McCoy versus Katrina Creed. Kingsclave, the scariest mother effers in the professional wrestling, versus Big and Brave. We love it. We love us and Billy Avery. And the return of Big Calix to High Tension Wrestling, which I'm super excited for. Always one of my favorites. First show I've ever produced was Big Calix was the host of.
He was big. Yeah, it was the first Can't Believe Frog show I was at. Yeah,
that was Big Calix is our introduction to our birth of working for High Tension, Frog Fort and heavyweights. Yep,
a lot of fun. That's going to be a good night. And I love that High Tension and Labor of Love and all these people are really bringing that independent wrestling scene back to Philadelphia.
There you go. Okay. The ropes tie in with a BDSM exhibitions that will be going on as well, presented by Desiree Slays. Tickets sold already for me. I'm already there. You had me at wrestling, raves, and Desiree's going to be there? Where's my...
Yep.
Take it. Take my money.
Shut up and take his money.
All right, let's finish out JYD and close out this episode. Huge thank you once again for High Tension Wrestling letting us drop that news and going live on their platform. So make sure everyone listen seriously. If you guys, they're super close to their watch hours, so in between times, like I said, if you got to leave the TV on for the dog for the day, if you go out and you just want to leave your computer on, go over to High Tension, pick a playlist or two, put them on, let them run for the day, and come back and just give them that love. Let's help them get their monetization so they can make a couple extra money, so that company can then use that money to put their content out and help maybe get a couple extra bucks in their pocket so they can do cool shows. They're also doing a GoFundMe for a trailer so they can start traveling more and they can do more shows and they can transport rings, not just for themselves, but for their collection of the High Tension Wrestling Network, because there's a lot of good shows that can be done more if the ring can actually transport a lot easier, because U-Hauls are expensive. So also head over to High Tension and support that GoFundMe as well.
Right on. Definitely do that. And we're pretty much done with the Junkyard Dog's career. It's winding down by the time he hits WCW. He is in an interesting 6-man tag. So WCW for a little bit had a world 6-man title, world 6-man titles. I guess you would call them trios titles now, if it was around now. And the very first champions were the team of, and I think they defended these titles at Super Brawl 1, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe a Wrestle War. But they defended them against the Big Cat, who was Curtis Hughes, Mr. Hughes, and the State Patrol, Buddy Lee Parker and Lieutenant James Earl Wright. But it was the interesting tag team of the Junkyard Dog, a guy we have both had an opportunity to hang around with and loved, Ricky Morton.
Yes.
And And a guy I also really love, a crazy person, Wildfire Tommy Rich.
Somebody say fired up.
Somebody say something about fired up.
We might have got him a little fired up outside. I forgot he's on my list of wrestlers we smoked with.
That list is one for me now, but it's a pretty big one. Well, actually, there are a few
you
wrestlers.
Have the one I wanted. I wanted that one so bad. I came in the back and I was like, I just came in and I just went, you son of a bitch. He's the first wrestler he's the first wrestler I gave a joint to. I didn't have to smoke it with him, but I gave him one.
There you go.
Bro.
So no, I do have something that was given to me by Tommy Rich though, because one of the times we were doing the convention, one of the times it's my favorite story. One of the times we were helping out at the convention in Hamburg, I believe it was 2022, and that was the day like we hosted the meet and greet with Demolition. We had some other stuff going on. That was very cool. And so we're walking around just filming content, and Tommy Rich. It was Tommy Rich and Ronnie Garvin. Ronnie Garvin was just very, very respectful. Oh, thank you for. It's always good to see the fans. Like he was just in his French Canadian accent, and then Tommy Rich is just on. Somebody say something about fired up. I'm so glad to be here in Hamburg, and he's
that's on the old channel. If you guys want to see that, Brian got that on camera. Yeah,
it's up to 11. And at the end of the day, I'm like, Tommy, thank you so much. It was so cool. I'm a huge fan. Like, thank you for doing that. He's like, oh, no, thank you, brother. Thank you. Here you go. And he reaches onto a table and he hands me an autographed picture of Demolition. He just stole an autograph from Demolition's table and gave it to me. And it's on my wall.
So we worked at Demolition and I didn't have the balls to ask him for a photo or an autograph. I didn't get an autograph from them until Paul Bowe was like, didn't you host something with them? I go, yeah. And he goes, and you didn't get anything for it? He goes, I'm like, no, it's one of my biggest regrets. And he's like, here. And he gave me an autographed Demolition photo. And he's like, why would you not have that? I'm like, I don't know. Good. I said, Brian got one from fucking Tommy Rich. It's almost as cool as getting a free autograph because we gave the Headbangers beer.
You have a free picture, yeah.
Yeah, I have your autograph still. I still have it.
Okay, so it wasn't autograph.
I still have your autograph. We got an autograph and picture from the Headbangers. They got on the microphone and said, "Whoever brings us over a beer gets a free autograph." And we had a case of beer for Earl Hebner.
Yeah, of course. Coors Light at the ready. Well, it was right after his brother died.
His brother passed away.
Understandable. Yeah. But I had purchased the Coors Light before we knew Earl wasn't going to be there, and brought it over like, hey, we have beer at the ready for you.
Yeah, it was awesome. That was a very tag team heavy convention.
It was a lot of fun though. Yeah, the Acclaimed were there. That was the same year the Acclaimed were there.
Yep. Before they became like the Acclaimed.
Yeah, they were like right on the precipice of blowing up.
It was the first time they just left when Billy Gunn just left them the first time, and then went back to the Guns. And then when they came back the second time is when they blew up.
Yep. Just to close up the Junkyard Dog here, he does wind up lasting a little bit longer in WCW. Did a few things on the Indies. Made an appearance at ECW. I think they were in the New Orleans area. They were in the area for something, and he was there. And this is where his daughter's high school graduation. I'm assuming the same daughter who was. Yeah, it was not the York Foundation. Junkyard Dog and the York Foundation, though, would have been interesting. Sylvester Ritter sounds like somebody who could be in the York Foundation. It was a babyface team. It was Ricky Morton, Tommy Rich, and the Junkyard Dog. But now I'm really upset that we didn't get heel Sylvester Ritter in a suit as a member of the York Foundation. He needs a middle initial though. What's his middle name? He would have had to have been I don't see his middle name here, but Sylvester A. Ritter. That would have been amazing for the York Foundation.
I want to turn a wrestler heel because he's like a huge baby face, but I want to turn him heel and make him like Shelton Benjamin where he just kills everybody. And I want to change his name from what it is now, and I want to change it to Sylvester Ritter. Ritter. You know who it is?
Who's that?
Mookie Summers.
Okay.
I want to change Mookie till Sylvester, and I just want him to kill everybody.
Sylvester Summers is a good name.
Yeah.
Go halfway.
Sylvester Summers. Yeah.
That's a good name.
Yeah, it's a great name. I think Sylvester is just underrated. Underrated name. I think they think of the Looney Tunes character, but it's just a dope name. Or Sly is good too. Sly Ritter.
Yeah, but if it's the York if it's the York Foundation, you can't truncate names. All the people in the York Foundation, it was Terry Taylor became Terrence Taylor, and Ricky Morton became Richard Morton, Thomas Rich. You had to have the full name. You had you had to have the full name. That was just those were just the rules. But unfortunately, shortly after that appearance with ECW, as Junkyard Dog was driving home from his daughter's high school graduation, he fell asleep at the wheel, rolled his car, and unfortunately passed away in 1998. And his daughter, Latoya Ritter, was actually who it was the person who accepted his induction in 2004 when they revived the WWE Hall of Fame. They had stopped doing the Hall of Fame inductions for about almost 10 years at that point. I think they stopped around 95, 96. When they brought it back in 2004 for WrestleMania 20, he was part of that first class with Bobby Heenan and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff and Tito Santana and a lot of other guys. And a lot of it is because in those early days when they were first getting that foothold nationally, especially if they were running down in like Louisiana or East Texas or Arkansas, Junkyard Dog was right there, neck and neck. Not well in that case, he's probably a little ahead of Hogan, but he was really their number 2 babyface for a very formative time in the company until they were able to build up some other guys.
Yeah. And just to kind of give some love to some more independence things here, there is maybe not so much now because he is a heel, but one of my favorite guys on the scene, very influenced by Junkyard Dog, even to the point that his character is a dog. Malcolm from Security Inc., very JYD inspired, where you would even get on all fours and headbutt.
Yes, guard dog Malcolm Murray. Yeah,
the guard dog Malcolm Murray. So he's very influenced by him. Another guy on the scene. If you like that old JYD style, go check him out from Security Inc. They're a team out of Creative Pro Wrestling. They do a lot of work at AXW and some stuff at PPW every now and then.
Reigning tag team
yeah. So
reigning tag team champions at AXW.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, like Junkyard Dog always had great music. He had Bad Leroy Brown, and then when he first gets to WWF, they use Another One Bites the Dust by Queen. And then he has one of the top tracks on that first wrestling album they did, the infamous Grab Them Cakes.
We love to grab them cakes.
Oh, is that all you do?
Is that all I do?
Yeah.
I mean, that's my favorite thing to grab. You know what I mean?
It's a lyric from the song. That song has a great background story. So that song was a very low performing, very obscure single by I guess rapper named, I believe, Captain Chameleon, if I'm not getting the name wrong. And he had another song called Jive Ol' Foe. And it may have been Commander Chameleon. I think it was Captain Chameleon. Now I got to look it up. But it was the pseudonym of David Wolf, who was Cyndi Lauper's manager and boyfriend, and who was one of the people that really facilitated the whole rock and wrestling thing. And they took this song he had made. It was Captain Chameleon. They took this song he had made, just experimenting with rap in its infancy in like 1981, and they had Junkyard Dog and another singer redo it, and that became his big theme song. And then shortly after that, they took his other song, the B-side to Grab Them Cakes, which was Jive Ol' Foe, and they rewrite the lyrics to fit a heel manager, and it becomes Jive Soul Bro, the trademark theme music of the Doctor of Style Slick.
Yeah, it's funny because now Grab Those Cakes for me is a double meaning, because it's I'm grabbing cakes and there's a cake tattooed on the cake.
There you go.
It's cake squared in our household. Yeah,
cake to the second power. Yes,
that's a lot of cake grabbing around here in these parts.
That is all you do.
Compound. Yeah, tons of cake. I want to be diabetic soon. BP, anything you want to talk about before we close out and get out of here?
I think we've already shamelessly plugged the PPW show enough. It's this Saturday, February 15th. If we don't get washed away in a sea of green in Philadelphia the day before, we will be at PPW. we will be at PPW. It's gonna be a big weekend. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a big night. Some really exciting matches, and hopefully it doesn't snow.
Yeah, definitely. My last thing I want to kind of bring up is when I think of JYD, I always try to give you like a Mount Rushmore or like a list. We always try to do like a list at the end of an episode because I think a lot of people like that. When I think of JYD, obviously the music and the style and the energy and the dancing, but I think for me, one of my favorite things about JYD as a kid is every wrestler that sticks in my mind that wasn't like that I gravitated to had a good prop. That chain,
yes,
iconic.
Yeah. He
Where does the chain rank when it comes to accessories in professional wrestling? The JYD chain.
It's a pretty good one. I because he had the chain and so did Hercules, and around the same time, which was always interesting when two people have the same thing. It's up there.
Yeah.
See, I think of the voice. He had that very distinctive gravelly voice. I'm the Junkyard.
Yeah. No. He was very Shaft. He felt like Shaft a little. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of a lag, I think.
I just kind of ran out of things. No, the chain was super cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's when everybody had a prop, and his wasn't a living animal, which is always good because those animals weren't treated so well.
Yeah. Well, what? He had a dog, right?
No, the Bulldogs had a dog. They had Matilda.
Oh, okay.
JYD,
JYD. Yeah, the JYD also, I believe, was might have been one of my first figures. I had the big rubber dog toy.
Yeah, I had the smaller bendy one. I had the smaller bendy Junkyard dog with the chain and the red, with the chain and the red tights.
Speaking of bendies and stuff that kind of happened in between our last episode and now, Alley Catch and GCW unfortunately has broken her leg pretty rough. And to commemorate her and help her out, obviously go buy merch. There's a GoFundMe and stuff going out. But the Mark Cardona and their figure team, him and Brian Matter's figure team, just put out a bendy for Alley Catch, and of course, in all Alley Catch glory, she takes and goes, "It's realistic," and bent the leg backwards.
Oh no! As long as she made the joke, if she made the joke, that's okay. That was
she's amazing. So
that's
gonna do it for us. Very much so. So that's going to do it for us here at Tornado Tag. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you go on the channel, right? If you're here watching and you're on ABJ, go down to the channels below. I have a whole list of all of our channels, the 5 questions with ABJ. Every single section of the ABJ podcast has its own channel now. So 5 questions, not cool horror, blazing buds, which I think, spoiler alert, somebody in the other room doesn't know it yet, but they're going to get a camera ready and we're going to record a blazing buds episode tonight. So that's going to happen. And our very first one as well too. So there's a lot of content coming out. Truth Behind Illusion. It's all below Banging Beers. So make sure you go and support those channels, subscribe to them. New content is dropping, so go drop some thumbs up on it. Go watch some of it. Also, go watch some stuff over at High Tension and help them hit their monetization goals. We hopefully will see you this weekend at PPW and these upcoming shows in Philadelphia. We love you guys so much. We will be back next week with the history of a title. Oh, never mind. We are out of Blazing Buds, so we may be not recording that tonight. All right, false alarm. It's grab some merchandise so we can restock on that because Lily is a psychopath and destroys it on us. We're going to be doing the history of the WWA Heavyweight Championship, the Los Angeles one. We'll be doing that next week. Actually, or not next week, 2 weeks from now, because I think next week will be the pre-recorded.
Yeah, next week we're going to have to do a canned episode.
Relationships. Yeah, so get your list of who you guys think would be on your pick for relationships, on-screen relationships in professional wrestling, and we'll see you. We won't be live next week, but we will drop that episode. Maybe because we're not live next week, I'll spoil you with a secondary Tornado Tag of me reviewing another match. I have one in the works right now. I'm working on with Tony Cini. So
although if you want to get really old school, that taped one could be a car ride episode. We haven't done one of those in a long time.
The which one?
The taped episode. That might be.
That might be do one on the way to PBW, do one on the way to Philadelphia.
That might be a wee hours of the morning eating Wawa.
All right, I'm with it. I'll bring the camera. I'll have extra batteries. We'll get it done.
That'll be interesting. That'll be
we're gonna film a lot that day.
That's
all right, we'll see you guys next time. Here's some music by the Converse Kid, and we will see you guys next Tuesday, whether it's live or not. Come hang out with us in the Discord. Follow us on all social media. We'll see you soon. Bye.